has taken over. Let's go. It's Ferrall. Coast to coast. Steaks, chicks, stacks. You and I are going to make a lot of money. It's Ferrall, coast to coast.
It's Ferrall Coast to Coast in the biggest way possible right here on SportsGrid and SportsGrid Radio. Great to have everybody with us on a Tuesday. Carver High in for Scotty. We'll get the Prime Minister in here in a moment as well. Of course, Turkey Week. Scotty will be back with us next week as we do have the holiday coming up on Thursday. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody. Gabe Morency in hour number one, as always. Sports Rage Late Night. We'll go through the action tonight with him. We've got Mike DeCourcy from the Sporting News, as usual on a Tuesday on C2C. Final hour. Oh, Elvis in the building. Denny Bernstein from the fourth period and Sirius XM's NHL Radio. Always good to see Denny. As there's a lot of hockey this week. Not as much tonight, but always around Thanksgiving. Huge slates on Wednesday, huge slate on the Friday after. So we'll talk to Denny about all of that. As I mentioned, I do have with me today the one, the only, the Prime Minister, Cam Stewart, here with us on Coast to Coast. Hi, Cam. How are you?
Pleasure, Carver. Nice to see you and the gang. I don't know what the hell. What do you give your Islanders for Thanksgiving? Third period meltdowns? These guys are unbelievable. They have a lead, and I've never seen a team like that. Anyway, I know it's football day, but we had Kurtz on, and I go every time the Islanders have a lead in the third, we just bet the other team now. And I don't mean to pick on them, but God, it's a train wreck. What is going on, dude?
If you just bet against the bet the other team's money line at the start of the third period against the Islanders, you have had a monstrous first couple months of the NHL season just by playing that.
For everybody's Thanksgiving in the neighborhood.
I believe it's 13 after last night. Third period leads that they've blown. Actually, when we do the NHL later, Cam,
we'll
I'll have
talk
all
about
the actual numbers up for you. But the Islanders, you see them up going into the third. It doesn't matter what it is either. 1 goal, 2 goals, 3 goals.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. Play the other side. Because they always blow the game. So we have a lot to do today, as I mentioned. Plenty of football. There's tons of college basketball. In fact, Cam, before I even go, are you in on any of this action?
Yeah.
I mean, there's a ton of stuff going on here. You tell me what you got, but I'll tell you what's happening first. We have, there was one really good game going on, right? Creighton and San Diego State, which is the game in Vegas. At the MGM. There's 4 games there at the MGM in Vegas today. There's another game, which we'll talk about, the Kentucky-Duke game, which is also in Vegas at the T-Mobile tonight. So 32-28, Aztecs lead the Blue Jays as they are at the half there. The other games going right now, not as great. You got San Fran over Fordham, the Dons in the Sunshine Slam, Miami of Ohio leading Mercer at the Fort Myers tip-off, Cayman Islands for High Point and Hampton. That'll reel them in, Cam, down there at Cayman with those two teams. So you do have some afternoon hoops. It sounds like you're involved.
Yes, Carver. Before we started the show, that's an owl. Sorry, I meant a Blue Jay. Cheap. I went on Creighton. Plus 1.5 in money line against Scotty's Sons, San Diego State Aztecs. Betting against the family here. That's what I do.
Yeah, why not? You might as well get involved. And UConn plays Colorado in about 25 minutes. First game of the day in Maui. We'll talk about Hurley later. Man, did he have a meltdown yesterday. That game with Memphis. And so we have Maui's got a couple really good games tonight, of course, which has all the winners from yesterday. Auburn's going to play North Carolina late night. That's a hell of a game. And you'll have Michigan State and Memphis in the other game. That's from the winner's side of the bracket out in Maui. So we will keep our eyes on all of that. Clemson, Penn State at the Sunshine at 4 East as well as we move forward. But we do have lots of football to do as well, Cam, including we'll close the book on Week 12, the Harbaugh Bowl last night with the Ravens beating the Chargers out in Los Angeles. And we will start to look ahead to Week 13. Now, what I was actually and first of all, let me say this. What a day we had, Cam. I had 3 tutties last night that we gave out on the show, which was Lamar, Mark Andrews, and the late garbage time Gus Bus revenge touchdown, which was a great number that we were able to get. And Ferrall, 11-1 ATS for the week in the NFL. He hit the Ravens last night, and he was 11-1 as he wanted me to. He sent me that earlier. I said, "Whoa, 11-1 week for Scotty. We got to get that in." So a good way to end the week, and you had that. Not only was that Gus Edwards touchdown good for me, Cam, in terms of a touchdown play, but it also garbage time put the over. Got the over with that touchdown late.
I thought Gabe and I did well last night. Like, we hit Palmer over, Andrews over receptions, everything. The only thing that didn't come in is I parlayed because it was too much juice, Henry and Dobbins, and it's crazy. The two favorites didn't get a touchdown there, and I parlayed at the plus money, so not too much damage there. He did well on all the stuff except for the Herbert props, I guess. So yeah, we crushed it in the game. We had Baltimore in the over. Hit both teasers, so it was a pretty good night, Carver. I didn't go 11-1 this week in the NFL, but a lot of my pooches came back. A lot of my friends that I hung out with the dumpster. Carolina's back in town. My old friend Tom Tennessee, he's back. All my losers came back, and that Tennessee money line put some turkey on the table. Actually, after the show, I got to go hit the store, grab a bird, and cook it up for Thursday.
The dogs were barking this weekend. Between Dallas, you mentioned Carolina. I was on Dallas and Carolina. You were on Tennessee. So there was a good weekend for the dogs to bark for us, that's for sure. So we will start to look to Week 13. And we always love this weekend because you get 3 games on Thursday with the Thanksgiving holiday. You get a game on Friday. Now, I don't know if those 4 games are the most attractive games, but we do have NFL action on both days. And then we get our traditional, of course, Sunday slate. So we will start to dive into those Thursday and Friday games, Cam. And I'm already seeing, obviously, it's a big number with the Lions. I saw Dable say that Tommy Cutlets might not play. He's tore his arm sore, whatever the deal is. I don't know if that's better or worse for them because they'd get Drew Lock in. And the storyline in the night game, which will bang over your head the next 48 hours, is how Tua and the Dolphins can't play in cold weather. So you're going to get a lot of that over the next 2 days.
You know what? And I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it at all. It's like, oh, Geno Smith can't play outdoors. Yeah, have you watched him the last 2 weeks there, Turkey? It's Thanksgiving. So enough banging on Geno. I'll tell you this. If Locke starts, I'm on the G-men. If it's Tommy Cutlets, I'll take Dallas. That's kind of the way I look at that game, Carver. Like, Locke, he's playing for another contract. Remember what he said? He was pissed at this organization. Gabe and I talked about it on Sports Rage. He thought he was the backup. They put in Tommy Cutlets because I guess he's huge in the Italian community in New York. Anyway, he sucked. So I don't really know what to say other than I will take the Giants if Locke starts because I think he'll be playing with a lot of anger and want to do a lot of things in that game.
I actually think it would
it's a lot of points
better.
with Detroit. But we've seen Detroit collapse on Thanksgiving before as big favorites. Remember Green Bay? They took everybody down when the Packers stuck. Year after year after year, Detroit used to be the clown of Thanksgiving. Now this is a different team at a different time, and the Bears lost that game to Minnesota, Carver. But you know what? I love points. I can't help myself. You know me, Carver.
Yeah,
I'm a dog man.
I have been going to the window on a weekly basis with Detroit, and I usually don't like to follow the crowd, Cam. I really don't like to do it, but I just got to feel this Dan Campbell group, they are just looking to smash everyone every single week.
Yeah.
I think the focus will be there after last year, losing to Green Bay at home on Thanksgiving. And I don't like laying that kind of lumber usually, Cam, but with this team, I feel confident doing it just because of how they've been willing to smash teams, especially in their building. So we'll talk about all the Thanksgiving games, start setting you up for Week 13. Lots of college football today as well, Cam, as the Crack Crab and Lobster Committee will release the new rankings tonight for the college football playoff. Me and Joe went through this yesterday. I got no idea what these people are doing tonight, Cam. They could, I think you could see a variety of things from that 5 to 12 number with all the upsets that we had this weekend. You look at the numbers at the books, people that thought they were going to sweat about Indiana, I don't think they're going to be doing that. As I saw, like minus 2,000, minus 3,000 for them to make the college football playoff. So I think you're going to see Indiana in there tucked nice and good. So we have that. We have NBA Cup games tonight. We've got hockey games tonight. We've got other college basketball games. So it's a very busy day for us on a Tuesday on Coast to Coast. Carver High and the Prime Minister Cam Stewart in for Scotty. We will come back and we will get things rolling with Gabe Morency here on the grid. C2C on a Tuesday. Let's rock right after this. he shouldn't need to hire outside help at this point to be able to help him, let alone outside help, Joe, that used to work for him.
Until they get him out of the way, I just don't see how this gets any better. And like you said, who are you picking from? Because most people who know the league want nothing to do with the ownership group there with the Jets.
Ferrall Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching!
Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Road management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this once? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circus Sports Million, Circus Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With two former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
We fillet Indiana. They would smash them.
What?
Honestly.
You listen to yourself speak. That's not a reality question. They have not played each other. You are using hypothetical.
Team, and they got embarrassed.
As so many
if
teams
they
do.
Won that football. Yes, that's you're 100%
that's the thing, guys.
correct.
No. Stop.
The only argument is Indiana is a decent football team and a product of their environment.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
And we are back for El Coast to Coast here on a Tuesday. Carver High in for Scotty on SportsGrid and SportsGrid Radio. Great to have everybody with us. Of course, Gabe Morency's with us every day on C2C. You can catch Sports Rage late night, weeknights at 10 p.m. East, right here on the grid. Gabe, good to see you as always, my man. Let's start here because I told you yesterday as we were leaving, I got to get to college with you tomorrow because there was too much stuff that happened. And tonight is when the Jokers in that committee are going to put out their latest rankings. As we still have a couple to go. Lots of upsets this past weekend. We were looking at some of the numbers yesterday and this morning. You know, people sweating about Indiana, Gabe. You know, FanDuel's got minus 8,000 to making the playoffs. So they think they're going to be in. You're seeing Tennessee at minus 450. You could sometimes, Gabe, look at those lines for what the books think of who's going to make it and kind of get a little bit of a playbook for what these guys are going to put out tonight with the rankings.
I don't fully understand the criticism of Indiana as much as there is out there. And listen, I don't think Indiana are a top tier football team, and I think they'll lose in the college football playoffs. But the hostility towards them, I think, is just a little bit over the top. And the fact is, there's just not that many one-loss teams out there, right? I mean, you know, we could talk about are the SEC teams better, and I would say yes. I think they've kind of cannibalized themselves a little bit. But at the same point in time, you are what your record says you are. So I don't have a problem with Indiana getting in. I think a big winner over the weekend, actually, was Notre Dame, right? Notre Dame have just systematically they've kept winning and people around them are losing. But I said it before, Carver, and I said it to you. I said it to Ferrall when the first rankings came out, right? Look at this matchup or look at that matchup. People can't even remember who was whatever looked like back then. So sort of like a snow globe. We reshake it every week. So I'm sort of going to wait and see how it plays out still right now. But it's going to be an intriguing playoff this year. And you get the Big 12 teams, right? They're going to get in the back door. They'll be one of the lower seeds as well. But I'm curious to see when it's all said and done, who plays who. A&M is all or nothing for them, right? So Texas A&M win, they're going to get in. If they don't win, they're not going to get in. But as you stated, everything is kind of working itself out right now.
It is, and you mentioned shaking the snow globe. I think there'll be even more of it between this weekend and the conference championship games. Especially
if we can get an upset, right? Like, where's that upset coming from? Is it Georgia Tech? Georgia Tech lost by like 7 or 8 last year to them, right? So Georgia Tech have shown, all right, we can hang around with Georgia. This Georgia Tech football team is pretty good, right? They're not going to be overly, I don't think they get smashed, like murdered by Georgia. They can hang around. Does Michigan have one in them? Right? Michigan actually played their best, I think Michigan can hang around the point spread, but it's going to be hard to go in there and actually beat them, right? I mean, you're getting 3 touchdowns. So I don't know where the massive upset, Notre Dame, USC, maybe. You know what I mean? It's sort of like some of these games, some of these teams, and we saw it last week, Mike, and, it was a big theme. Teams saving their season, bro, right? And I told people this all week about Oklahoma and Alabama. And I said, if Oklahoma wins this game, there's going to be a lot of pain will be forgotten, man, right? A lot of the season. Look at what's going on in Gainesville right now, Carver. They wanted to put Billy Napier on the next train out of town before. Now it's like, hey, let's go. When are we playing again? Let's go. Let's beat someone else, right? It's sort of starting to roll. So you never really know with these last late games when someone's going to step up and pull the carpet out from underneath. But I kind of don't see it happening this weekend.
I think the one team I'd watch for this weekend is, and they need to win to play in that ACC title game, is Miami. I know Syracuse has been okay in spots this year. They're going on the road.
It's a tricky place to play.
If Miami loses, Clemson's going to be in the game against SMU. So they cannot afford to slip up in the Dome against Syracuse this weekend. And I was saying yesterday to Joe, Gabe, Boise's played with fire the last few weeks. And maybe not this week with Oregon State, but if they got to play UNLV again next week in the Mountain West title game, I know everybody's got Boise penciled in. They think they're going to get a bye, which I don't believe they will after whoever comes out of the Big 12 wins. I still think that they'll be that 4th bye team. But I'd be careful with Boise these next 2 weeks, Oregon State and then possibly UNLV.
I don't disagree with you, but at the same point in time, if Boise get in, they're going to be dangerous for other teams, right? They're going to be a problem. When you want to talk about the playoff, this is where something you just said that sort of I find interesting. What do they do? Let's say UNLV wins. Is UNLV getting in? Like, those are the questions. Like, I don't really know. We can debate, Indiana and Penn State are ranked 6 and 8 and whatever, blah, blah, blah. But, like, think about that. Like, are UNLV in? Right? If they win this, that's sort of the question that I'm looking at here. There's sort of still a couple of things to happen, like you said. And, bro, this ACC thing is pretty wild right now still. I can't believe that SMU will be in the playoffs somehow. So something's going to happen before that.
And the odds board tells you that Tulane would be the team to move in if Boise lost, not UNLV. That Tulane would actually be the team if they took care of business the next couple of weeks. That would be that highest group of 5 team that would maybe slide into that playoff. So like you said, a lot to happen here. Let's finish the college with this. Maction tonight, our final weeknight Maction of the season. Do you like anything Toledo, Akron, and Kent State and Buffalo?
Well, when we talk about Maction, Mike, like is a strong word. So they're on TV. It is what it is. Dude, the number, it was 21.5. It's up to 23.5 right now. And kind of rightfully so. I do think the Buffalo Bulls are going to murder Kent State tonight. Kent State guys have lost 20 straight games. So they're 0-11. They lost 9 straight last year. They're on a 20-game losing streak. I can't imagine that they're overly excited tonight about going to Amherst, New York to play the Buffalo Bulls. Right? Like, I'd like to be the old, one more try for a win, guys. Carver, they know, right? It's like, God, is it over yet? So we got to go to Buffalo. And Buffalo have actually been running the score up on people. Buffalo are peaking at the right time right now. Buffalo are sort of ascending. It went from like 3 weeks ago. They're trying to get into a bowl game. They're 7-4 now. Now they're looking at an 8-4, then maybe a 9-4, maybe a 10-4 with a bowl win. So the Buffalo Bulls are balling right now. It's senior night. They won't take the pedal off the metal. They're going to cover.
Coast to Coast. We're back with more with Gabe right after this. he shouldn't need to hire outside help at this point to be able to help him, let alone outside help, Joe, that used to work for him.
Until they get him out of the way, I just don't see how this gets any better. And like you said, who are you picking from? Because most people who know the league want nothing to do with the ownership group there with the Jets.
Ferrall Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching!
Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this one? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circus Sports Million, Circus Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With two former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
Filet Indiana. They would smash them.
What?
Honestly.
You listen to yourself speak. That's not a reality question. They have not played each other. You are using hypothetical.
And they got embarrassed.
As so many
if
teams
they would have
do.
won that football, yes, that's you're
but that's the thing, guys.
correct.
No.
The
Stop.
only argument is Indiana is a decent football team and a product of their environment.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
And we are back, Ferrall, Coast to Coast on a Tuesday. Carver High in for Scotty on SportsGrid at SportsGrid Radio. Gabe Morency with a Sports Rage late night, weeknights at 10 p.m. East, right here on the grid. All right, Gabe, we got a lot of college college basketball because we got Feast Week. This is really the first week, Gabe, where I feel like the kind of the fair weather fan. I don't even want to say that, but nobody's really peeked in on college basketball yet. And they see all these big matchups in these holiday tournaments, and this is where they first start to kind of dive in and see what's going on here. And you have the Maui, which is unbelievable. You've got these 4 games at the MGM Grand in Vegas that are going on today, which are outstanding. Hurley blew his stack yesterday out in Maui, and they lost. Great game tonight. North Carolina taking on Auburn. So lots of fun college basketball for you today.
Yeah, last night we hit Dayton plus the points, and we smoked the over of that basketball game late on the show last night. We've been really, really, really on a roll in college basketball this year, like devastating. I'm telling you, Carver. I think I'm like 27-4 type of deal this year, and it's very strange because I couldn't tell you a lot about a lot of teams. I'm sort of just sticking with the same thing that I know over and over with sort of the Big Sky and West Coast Conference and then these games where you get these heavyweight teams playing against each other, and we're seeing modern basketball. Nobody plays defense, Mike. I think the total's too light tonight in Duke and Kansas. We got a 149 in this game, and you look at Duke, guys. Duke they lost the close one to Kentucky, and everybody, Cooper Flag missed a late shot and turned the ball over, blah blah blah. Then everybody bet against them when they went to Arizona. I was on Duke when they beat Arizona. Now I'm looking to flip-flop here again, actually. I'm going to take the Kansas Jayhawks. As good as Cooper Flag is, former Michigan Wolverine and a player that I believe is in his 15th year of college basketball, Hunter Dickinson. It's this kid, how many years is this guy going to play college ball? But dude, he can handle Flag a bit, right? He's been around at least long enough, right? I mean, the guy's like the definition of a college basketball veteran. So I think it sort of neutralizes things just a little bit for Kansas. So I'm going to take the Kansas Jayhawks plus the 3. I'm not shy of these big games. Give me the Jayhawks plus the 3. We'll go over the number in that game. And then you get North Carolina and Auburn, man, this total is high at $167.5 right now. I really want to take the over of this basketball game. We saw last night, we got the 182 with Duke, with North Carolina and Dayton, but I think this 167 is just a little bit high for me, and I do think Auburn are better, Mike, than North Carolina. So give me the Auburn Tigers tonight, minus the 4.
And there's a late night game in Vegas too, this Rutgers-Notre Dame game, which is pretty interesting. And I'm a Notre Dame guy, you know that. They just lost to Elon at home. But Rutgers also just lost to Kennesaw State. So they're both coming off bad losses. It's a short number. I think Rutgers is a lot better than Notre Dame.
Well, as you see, man, Rutgers at the rack are murdering teams. This is what they do. And as you stated, man, Harper's a real baller. Like, Rutgers have NBA talent on that team. They're a dangerous team. They got caught by Kennesaw State. I think they bounced back here as well with the Scarlet Knights. It's crazy, too, because I see it's 2. We'll play the money line at minus 125. But, Mike, I got a $500 bet on the Rutgers Scarlet Knight football team over 6.5 wins on the season. It's been a roller coaster. They started off strong, and then they got hot. They got injured. Then they lost a bunch of games. And I was like, all right, I'm in trouble. But then suddenly, when they beat Maryland, we were sort of back on track. I needed the game last week against Illinois.
It was brutal.
And Shiano ices the kid on a 58-yarder, and the kid makes the kick after. Should have just let him run out and actually try the kick. But I got one more crack, speaking of Rutgers. They're at Michigan State. But if you saw Michigan State play last week against Purdue, they're not very good. This is a possible winnable game for Rutgers football. And I got a nickel on it. I guess I could hedge and bail if I wanted to, but I'll stand my ground and hope the Rutgers can beat Michigan State.
I was on Rutgers Saturday against Illinois. That was a brutal, brutal loss for them. Just needed them to win the game like you with the 6.5. 30 seconds. NBA Cup tonight. Durant's back against the Lakers. You have a couple things?
Yeah, I can't pretend I'm excited about the NBA Cup tonight. But
NBA Cup, come on, NBA Cup.
The Lakers don't lose, right? They never lost. Have they even lost? They never lost an NBA Cup game. This team. So
they love the NBA Cup. They're invitational. Gabe, we'll see you tonight.
Hang another little mini banner up next
mini
to their
banner.
Yeah.
For Coast to Coast.
I would hang one too.
He shouldn't need to hire outside help at this point to be able to help, let alone outside help, Joe, that used to work for him.
Until they get him out of the way, I just don't see how this gets any better. And like you said, who are you picking from? Because most people who know the league want nothing to do with the ownership group there with the Jets.
Ferrall Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching!
Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Road management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this one? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circus Sports Million, Circus Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With two former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
We fillet Indiana. They would smash them.
What?
Honestly.
Do you listen to yourself speak? That's not a reality question. They have not played each other. You are using hypothetical.
And they got embarrassed.
As so many
if
teams
they
do.
Won that football. Yes, that's you're 100%
that's the thing, guys.
correct.
No. Stop.
The only argument is Indiana is a decent football team and a product of their environment.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
And we are back for El Coast to Coast here on a Tuesday. Carver High in for Scotty on SportsGrid and SportsGrid Radio. Great to have everybody with us here today. Always good to have Mike DeCourcy with us every Tuesday on Coast to Coast from the Sporting News. Mike, great to see you. Happy Thanksgiving to you and the family as we've hit the holiday week here. Of course, you're seeing me, Mike. It's a holiday week. No Scotty. And it's good for me to talk to you again. Here, your column today. Now, Mike always puts out great columns. Let's just say that. Every Mike DeCourcy column is outstanding. But the one today about the college football playoff, I personally love because this is something, Mike, that I have been screaming about for really a year since we knew this was going to happen. And they were going to go to 12 teams. My night radio partner, Joe Lisi, who, of course, you see with me sometimes here, me and him have been arguing about this for a year. He's a traditionalist, 4 teams, is going to water down the game, blah, 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 blah. Mike, you had there's 17 games this weekend that have some kind of a connection to this college football playoff and teams getting in and keep staying alive and all sorts of stuff. Whereas I would bet that in other years, probably 13 to 14 of those 17 games would mean absolutely nothing except who's going to play in the Cheez-It Bowl or the WhoCares.com Bowl, Mike.
That's exactly right, Mike. Saturday night, I found myself watching Texas A&M at Auburn. And in that circumstance, with Auburn at 4-6 and A&M at 7-2, I believe, why would I have watched it or 8-2, I believe? I would have no reason whatsoever to watch that game in any other year up until now. I'm not an Aggie. I'm not a Tiger. I would have had no interest in that game. I was riveted. 4 overtimes. Everybody in that building understood what the consequence was for A&M and what it would mean to their possibilities of making the playoffs. I'm on Twitter, and everybody that I see is talking about this game, and I know it's a completely different thing than it would have been a year ago. Mike, I've been waiting for this for 60 years, literally 60 years. I watched my first college football game in 1968, when my folks took me over to my grandfather's house to watch Notre Dame play Purdue. We were an Irish Catholic family, so they were huge Notre Dame fans, so that's what we did. And ever since then, I've been waiting for college football to get with the times. And finally we have, and you see what the results are. On Saturday, from literally noon until midnight, noon with Indiana, Ohio State, and then the Florida Ole Miss game at the same time. And then later on in the evening, you had Alabama losing at Oklahoma, and then the game I just described. All these games had tremendous consequence, and along the way, Kansas is hurting Colorado's chances. It was so great for college football, and I still see people, a good friend and a respected columnist, Dennis Dodd, today, just talking about how it's all mediocre and it's not worth watching, or not. Maybe I'm putting words into his mouth, but not what it should be, I guess, is definitely what he said. And I couldn't disagree more. I think this is exactly what sports are supposed to be. We're not sitting there complaining that the Seahawks are going to get in the playoffs, or as it is now. We're not complaining about that. Because that's their division, and if they win it, they'll make it, and that's the way it should be in college football, just as it is in every other sport.
I'll tell you when else they're not going to complain, Mike. On the weekend of December, I believe it's the 21st is the Saturday. The Friday night the 20th, Saturday the 21st. They're not going to be complaining when they have 4 huge college football playoff games with big teams that are going to be playing in them, and not just the Potato Bowl and the Bahamas Bowl with Miami of Ohio. Nothing against those bowls or those teams, but, Mike, people are going to be locked in on college football Saturday, December the 21st. And let me tell you, usually they're not that day. That's another way they're going to love it.
I offended some people today who are traditionalists when I said that what we're seeing now is games that are of great consequence instead of brutal exercise, and it is a brutal exercise to play college football, on the way to meaningless bowl games. But I covered those bowl games back in the day when I was covering Penn State. They were a nice trip. and then a game that kind of didn't really matter whether you won or lost. And that's been college football through much of its history, and it's been spotlighted over the last 4 or 5 years when significant players have begun saying, hey, this game doesn't mean anything. My knee does, and I don't want to blow it on the way to the NFL draft. So we saw Kenny Pickett, yes, play in the ACC championship game because a trophy for Pitt mattered. But against Michigan State in the Peach Bowl, he was in the press box helping to call plays. That's the difference between what we'll see in a few weeks in the college football playoff. You will not see players sit out those games. I have read some people speculating that eventually we'll see them sit out those games. Hey, guys want to win championships. Those games matter. The league championship matters. The playoff championship matters. The bowl game for the benefit of the local community's tourism business, that really doesn't matter to the players. They make the trip and they enjoy it and they get the swag and all that. But the game itself, it's just exercise.
One thing has not changed, though, Mike, whether it be 4 teams or now going to 12. We're going to have a lot of conversations over the next 2 weeks about whether Alabama is going to get in or not, because this has happened a lot with 4, and they're the 3, them and Ole Miss are the 3-loss SEC teams. Now, I can tell you right now, Mike, tonight, they're going to put Alabama as one of those first 2 teams out of the 12 and leave that door jarred open, just like they used to do when they were 5 or 6, and there was 4 teams. And we're going to have a lot of discussion if they're going to be the 3-loss SEC team that gets in.
Yeah, I think a couple of things. First of all, one of my colleagues at work has come up with a reason, and I'm not going to blow it for him. He's going to write a column about it if the Tide takes down the Tigers in the Iron Bowl. So I won't blow that. So he's got a good reason. I'm going to say it's a legit reason. But they also have some significant losses that could keep them out. But for me, if there's a more than 2-loss SEC team that will belong, it will be A&M if they defeat Texas and get into the SEC championship game. I will say this right now, Mike. If they do that, they will belong even at 4 losses. I think that's a reasonable thing, even at 4 losses, because I wouldn't punish them for then losing in the championship game to Georgia. They play an extra game more than a lot of other teams that are in contention for this. I think earning your way into that game by taking out Texas, I think they'd belong even at 4. But Alabama has something that they have on their side. Now, they have to win the Iron Bowl against Auburn, and there's no guarantee they do that after what happened against Oklahoma. I don't think we can guarantee anything with Alabama football. But if they do get that, I think there's a justification for them to make it, depending on everything else that happens, of course.
First really big week of college basketball here, Mike, and I've only got, unfortunately, 90 seconds. We've got the Maui. We've got all these games in Vegas today. What did you think of Hurley yesterday, and who do you like in this Auburn-North Carolina game tonight? Because that's a great game.
Well, first of all, I will say that I think that he was right about the call. It was a questionable call. I thought it was the blockout player. I can't remember which Memphis player it was trying to block out Liam McNeely. And I just don't think he got there. McNeely went over his shoulder. I thought that if you're going to call an over the back, you need to have the block out in place. So I thought it was a bad call, but I don't think it justified getting tech there. And I think Dan Hurley is one of the best people in college basketball. Really cares about his guys, is the most cooperative person he could possibly be. I really like him. I just wish he would cool it. He doesn't need to do that. There are ways to do that part of things without really making yourself as obvious as he does. And look, he did it all the way through the last season's tournament. I sat opposite him at the Final Four, and I thought it was over the top, unnecessary, especially in games that the Huskies were dominating. They never had a game that wasn't double digits. So we'll see on that. Carolina, Auburn. I like Auburn at this point. Auburn has to go into Duke next week. That's going to be hard, but I think they'll be able to take care of this one tonight.
Mike DeCourcy from the Sporting News. We're back on Coast to Coast right after this. he shouldn't need to hire outside help at this point to be able to help, let alone outside help, Joe, that used to work for him.
Until they get him out of the way, I just don't see how this gets any better. And like you said, who are you picking from? Because most people who know the league want nothing to do with the ownership group there with the Jets.
Ferrall Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching!
Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this one? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circus Sports Million, Circus Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With two former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
Fillet Indiana. They would smash them.
What?
Honestly.
You listen to yourself speak. That's not a reality question. They have not played each other. You are using hypothetical.
And they got embarrassed.
As so many
if
teams
they would have
do.
won that football, yes, that's you're 100%
that's the thing, guys.
correct.
No.
The
Stop.
only
Please,
argument is Indiana is a decent football team and a product of their environment.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
And we are back, Ferrall, Coast to Coast here on a Tuesday. Carver High and Cam Stewart in for Scotty on SportsGrid and SportsGrid Radio. Good to have everybody with us here today. And by the way, I ran out of time with Mike, but I did ask him off air, and I wanted to relay it. He does like Duke tonight against Kansas. He thinks the Duke's a little bit better than Kansas. So interesting from Mike DeCourcy there, who thinks that Duke can actually get the win out at the T-Mobile in Vegas tonight. So nice job by Mike DeCourcy, as always, there with us. All right, Cam, let's start to roll through. I got a lot of NFL for you today. We're going to squeeze in a lot of our future stuff, start to look at all these Thursday and Friday games. But first, let me at least take you back a little bit for last night. Ravens beat the Chargers 30-23. The Harbaugh Bowl out in Los Angeles. In fact, Chargers got out to a pretty good start, Cam, up 10-0 in this game. But then it was all Ravens after that, including a little icing on the cake from Justice Hill on Westwood One Sports.
Hill, the running back, Jackson in the gun. The 49-yard line of Baltimore, 3rd and 2. Shotgun snap. Handoff, Hill runs laterally, stiff arms, breaks a tackle, 50, got a block, 40 on the numbers, 30. Far side, foot race, 20. Far sideline, 15, 10, 5, touchdown! Walking the tightrope down the far side. The electrifying run by Hill. 51-yard touchdown run. And the Ravens have gone up 29-16 over the Chargers.
Can't beat it, Kevin Harlan there.
Good memories,
on Westwood
Carver.
One as Kevin Harlan gets going.
Yes, he's amazing.
He is amazing. But you know what, Cam? I thought Ravens coming off, of course, losing to the Steelers. Chargers had been playing some good ball. People were starting to say maybe we could put the Chargers up a level with those upper echelon AFC teams, Ravens, Bills, Chiefs, etc. Maybe we're not quite there yet. And the reason I say that, Cam, is, and I know they lost Dobbins last night, their offense, when they're down, they're one of those offenses that is not built to come from behind. They don't have a lot of, I mean, that guy Johnston, how was he doing catching the football last night? He had all kinds of problems. Brutal. He had no catches, and I think he had 3 or 4 miserable drops. But their offense, Cam, is what would worry me when they're playing a team such as the Ravens or the Bills or the Chiefs in a playoff situation, that they wouldn't be able to keep up with those teams.
Great call, Carver. But I will say this, too. And the Ravens, conversely, the opposite. A great live betting team. Like we talk about fading the Islanders. How many times have these guys come back this year? They're one of the best bet. But I'm going to say this about the Chargers. If they have a lead against a team, it's good. But kudos to Harbaugh. You know what, Carver? They go for it on 4th down from their 16. Like, these are the crazy things you need to do. We don't want to give the ball back to these guys. And I'll tell you, I still think they're getting closer to the Chiefs. Not there yet. Kansas City hasn't impressed me that much. But the Chargers, they're on that second tier of good teams, in my opinion.
In fact, I'll do this now, Cam, and because I know that Luke can handle it and he's skilled enough to move up a couple things before I play the videos. The Ravens are now 4-1 this season after trailing by 10 or more points. How about that, Cam? 4-1, down 10 or more. The rest of the NFL is 18 and $130 straight up, 10 plus points. So that shows you right there. You know, that, like you say, Lamar has that in him, that he can rally a team, and whether it's with his legs or with his arm, and start to make some things happen. So very interesting there for them. Let's hear from, we'll start with Jim on this side because he's more about the game. Ravens were just better than his squad.
I think we're all going to have some things that we wish we would have played, coached better. That's how I feel. That's my reaction. But
man,
main thing is, I mean, they played better football tonight, and as I said a couple times, that's more importantly to me is I know what we're building and
for my coffee, Carver,
and
head into the world.
I know what we're capable of, and onward.
You know, we usually, let me tell you something.
Wow.
What a difference Jim is after a loss, because me and Scotty have had a lot of fun playing some really good Harbaugh clips over the past few weeks. But off a loss, Cam, it's like the Grim Reaper around. I mean, he just can't. I mean, it's just, there are no smiles and giggles with that. I mean, Jim, be fair. You just won 4 in a row, all right? It's one game. You'll move on. And they go to Atlanta this week, by the way. That's a cross-country trip on a short week. Blah, 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 blah. Falcons off a bye. Tricky game, Cam, for the Chargers.
I'm leaning Falcons. I'm leaning that way.
Small road favorite for the Chargers, too. Are they ready for something like that?
Here's the thing. Atlanta, though, I think Raheem Morris, he has a disadvantage against Harbaugh. Harbaugh's a better coach. Let's call it out for what it is. Their special teams is better, got a better quarterback. But here's the bottom line. Atlanta, you run Bijan Robinson 25 to 32 times. Like, enough. Like, just figure it out, guys, and learn how to finish. Like, they've been very disappointing. Now you have time to put up a game plan. If you can't win this game, you're in trouble. Lean with the Falcons, Carver, but tough game. Very tough.
Tough game indeed. Let's hear from John. Very proud, Cam, of his team and beating his brother.
And these are just huge battles every week in this league. And going against a team that's this well coached by all their coaches and by my brother Jim, best coach in the National Football League, when he's done with that team and how hard they play and what they did. Hats off to them, because they're going to win a lot more football games this year, and they're going to be a major factor in the playoffs. So this is a big win for our guys. I'm proud of our guys. I'm proud of the way they came out and responded. You know, after the first 10 points, we're down 10-0, and our guys step up.
There you go. Very proud of his team. I would call his brother best coach in the NFL. I guess Jim would probably say that about him too, right? Cam, I mean, they would probably say that. And as I said yesterday, I was thankful, Cam, and maybe I just didn't watch enough pregame coverage. I was thankful that the Harbaugh brother thing wasn't completely take over the entire broadcast.
Yes.
I was very happy about that. Because in the past, and look, it's hard. They only played 2 times in the past, and one was the Super Bowl. Obviously, in the Super Bowl, they're going to make it a huge angle. But I liked that it wasn't over the top. That the brothers were facing each other. And maybe they'll play each other again, Cam. They might see each other again.
I will say this, though, Carver, and I'm not sure you agree. Herbert was an excellent runner. He ran in for the first touchdown. More of that for the Chargers is a good recipe. You got to let him wild. Let him go.
Coast to coast. We're back right after this. he shouldn't need to hire outside help at this point to be able to help him, let alone outside help, Joe, that used to work for him.
Until they get him out of the way, I just don't see how this gets any better. And like you said, who are you picking from? Because most people who know the league want nothing to do with the ownership group there with the Jets.
Ferrall Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching!
Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this one? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circus Sports Million, Circus Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With two former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
Fillet Indiana. They would smash them.
What?
Honestly.
You listen to yourself speak. That's not a reality question. They have not played each other. You are using hypothetical.
And they got embarrassed.
As so many
if
teams
they would
do.
have won that football, yes, that's you're 100%
that's the thing, guys.
correct.
No.
The
Stop.
only, the only argument is Indiana is a decent football team and a product of their environment.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
And we're back. Ferrall Coast to Coast on a Tuesday. Carver High and Cam Stewart in for Scotty on SportsGrid and SportsGrid Radio. We were trying to decide during the break, why does Jim look so much older than John, with John being the older brother. And we came up with, Cam, that Jim's just a little bit more weathered. He's been weathered. He's played in some tough cities, Chicago, Indy. He's been a little bit more weathered. Took a beating as a player. A little bit more weathered, Cam. Would you say that in terms of the Harbaugh brothers? A little bit more weathered.
Definitely. I loved him as a quarterback, though. He took a licking and kept on kicking. Jim Harbaugh's tough. Michigan. I remember the little mouse, Marcia Broda. He played under him. I loved Jim Harbaugh as a Colt. He was wicked, man. That guy really grinded. He's a grinder. Shows our age.
They have started the day's festivities in Maui. First game of the day, UConn leads Colorado 18-12. Hopefully Hurley doesn't rip anyone's head off today out there in Maui. And he's maybe, hopefully, Cam, he had a nice meal last night. I mean, you're in Hawaii. Hopefully you had a nice meal with the family, relaxed a little bit, maybe go and sit out on the beach with one of those drinks with the umbrella in it and just have maybe a little bit more. Because he can't win it now. He lost already. So it's not like he's got the pressure of winning the Maui Invitational. He can kind of just relax and maybe beat Colorado in the first game of the day. And then that's the one good thing about losing, Cam. You play that first game the next day, and then you got the whole rest of the day to go drink those drinks with the umbrellas out on the beach.
You know what, Carver,
that's
a good point, actually. Think about all the teams that are really good going, you know what? We're just getting warmed up here. Don't worry about it. We'll be fine in the season. And next thing you know, you're
good
out. And, beach drinks. Sounds like a winner.
We have a final in Vegas. San Diego State beat Creighton 71-53.
Lost that one.
So a smash job for the Aztecs in that one. And they're underway in a few other places. The Spiders of Richmond leading Louisiana Tech 35-27 at the half in the Gulf Coast Showcase in Estero, Florida. So there you go. Lots of games in college basketball. Clemson and Penn State starts in about 5 minutes. Clemson -1.5. And I only ask this when you're here, Cam, because I know you're involved. did you play anything in the Champions League today? And you're one of the few people I can ask that to. Yeah. Did you get involved in the Champions League at all? Because there's tons of games in the Champions League this afternoon.
These are small plays, Carver. But the good news is,
I knew
right
it.
Now.
I knew you were in. I knew you were in. I just knew it. I knew you had something in the Champions League today.
Actually, I took a shot. I didn't realize Arsenal was up 3-0 against Sporting CP. That's a real good situation we got going on there. I got to be honest with you though. I was very tempted to take PSG. The draw and them winning was like plus 460, but it's 1-0 Bayern Munich. I didn't touch anything else. This who's Barcelona playing? Like Turkey Brest? Is that Brest?
They're taking Brest. Yes, they're taking Brest. That's who they're playing today.
No Brest. I'll take a leg.
Who is out of, of course, they are in the French league, Cam. Yes. That is where they are from. So they made the Champions League this year. So congratulations.
Atalanta? I love fading young boys.
I only did one thing today in the Champions League, and it was an early cash for me. And that was Pulisic to score for Milan, nice. For Inter Milan. So
good call.
They played in the early, they stagger some of those games. Now they have some earlier games. Usually it's because of location. And Milan was in Bratislava earlier today, and Pulisic did score. So that was it for me, Cam. I figured I don't need to play any more golf. Any more soccer, excuse me. See, you got golf on the mind. Another thing, Cam's got golf on my mind because he's here. I think it's Wednesdays, but golf Wednesdays are over us for now. Nice job by Maverick McNeely on Sunday, Cam. Winning at How many times have we taken
the Maverick and old Doug Dembski texts us? Hey guys, I knew you weren't on him. Thanks, Doug. Appreciate it. We had everybody else in the top five. Doug the slug was putting one in me.
I was
settled down, Michigan.
Put my head on the pillow, and I forgot to respond to him. But yes, he let us know that we were not on Maverick McNeely.
Yeah.
On Golf
blood
Wednesday
pressure
last week
with Doug, and I won with Billy the Doorman on Thitical in the LPGA. So don't worry, Doug. I got a little bit of it back.
We'll come back, Cam. We start to go to week 13. I've got our weekly best and worst against the spread, some future odds, and then we'll roll through all the Thursday and Friday games. Ferrall Coast to Coast, Carver High and Cam Stewart in for Scotty. We'll come back hour number 2 of C2C on the Grid. We are back right after this. Together, both Devontae Adams and Garrett Wilson had huge nights. Aaron Rodgers loves the 2 big targets, and he says if this is going to happen, it's going to be very tough on the defense to decide who they want to go after.
Adams and this kid, Wilson, I won't deny what they can do, but nobody else does jack.
Ferrall Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Grandma Bear, who owns the football team, probably comes in, gives a little, oh, man, you're such a good little boy out there. Congratulations, the way you coach this football team. I'm never going to fire you.
Totally, I missed you pinching your own cheek. Because I was looking down and did not know we were getting.
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there with that guy named Ben. Like, that's what your grandma would do to you when you go see her on Thanksgiving or Christmas,
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.